Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of She Shoots Straight, a Hong Kong actioner from 1990 that is a very strong representation of the girls with guns subgenre that permeated the Hong Kong film industry during this time period. Now this film stars Joyce Godenzi and Carina Lau as our protagonists. Now Godenzi was the winner of Miss Hong Kong back in 1984. Very beautiful woman who actually has a mixed ancestry. Her father is Australian and her mother is Chinese. But don't let the fact that she's a model fool you, because this woman is very convincing during her action scenes. We'll get to that later. For now, though, I just simply must express my disappointment that Godenzi was not in many movies. Her most popular title is probably Eastern Condors with Sammo, which is worth seeking out, by the way. It's a good flick. But I wish she was in more stuff, you know what I mean? Carina Lau, on the other hand, has had a more active and consistent career over the past few decades. She was in a few of Jackie Chan's earlier films. She was in a few of Wong Kar-wai's films. She had a major role in Infernal Affairs 2, which is a very good film. And more recently, she appeared in a few of the Detective D films. So it's definitely interesting seeing her in such an early role like She Shoots Straight. So what's this film about? Does it even matter? You know, it's a Hong Kong action flick. Sometimes the plot doesn't matter. I do think the plot kind of matters in this one. Early on, we see our protagonist, Joyce Godenzi's character, getting married. You know, she's kind of happy, she's having a good time, but her new sister-in-law, played by Carina Lau, does not approve of her. The problem seems to be kind of twofold here. One is that Joyce's character is a half-breed, and Carina Lau actually says this at one point in the film, you know, which is a direct reference to her real-life ancestry. And that was kind of surprising, but it gives you an insight a little bit into how some people think, and even in real life. And I guess also, second reason that Carina Lau's character does not approve of this woman is that Joyce's character frequently gets good reviews and promotions from her superiors. So you could kind of tell early on that there's really no legitimate gripe that Carina's character could possibly have. So she's just being a jealous wench, basically. Now our protagonists are quickly assigned to an undercover job, which goes fairly well. Unfortunately for them, though, a bad guy escapes from prison and targets a cabaret club, which apparently has a big stash of cash on site. And then things go from there. So the antagonist in this film is played by Leung. Who else? This guy was one of the go-to actors for villain roles during the late 80s, early 90s. This guy was in a bunch of movies as like the bad guy. Nowadays, he does a lot of silly comedies, which is kind of an odd transition. But back in the day, he was able to exhibit like a quiet menace and was usually difficult to kill due to his athleticism. Now, this film showcases some very good action sequences. Right near the beginning, we're treated to some butt-kicking action, and it's followed by a handful of other good sequences that are spaced throughout the runtime. There are basically three reasons why the action works so well in She Shoots Straight. First, the actresses can sell their attacks very well. With fast delivery of punches and kicks, neither actress has a martial arts background to my knowledge. But as a viewer, you could be forgiven for thinking otherwise. And it needs to be emphasized. These girls kick some serious rear end, and you got to give them props for really, you know, taking this seriously. They must have gone through some form of training before this movie. Second of all, the stuntmen get the absolute crap kicked out of them. Multiple hard-hitting falls and takedowns on display. I gotta tell you, I totally appreciate the stuntman profession, because the beatings that these people take provide for an infinite amount of entertainment value. Thirdly, the violence is impactful. You know, you should kind of expect the bad guys in films like this to be ruthless, but even the cops are kind of merciless in places. I mean, there's scenes, even near the beginning of the film, where the cops will just shoot people in the back. You know, like if a bad guy's like running into a room, we'll just shoot him in the back. So it's pretty entertaining stuff. My personal favorite sequence, I think, in the film is the finale, which is always nice because you always want the finale to be kind of the best scene. It has some nicely violent beatings. At one point, machetes and sledgehammers make an appearance, so this is good stuff. What about the character development? It's pretty good. Especially when compared to some of the other films of this kind, which can get pretty thin. There are a few stylistic decisions that I also liked quite a bit. For example, one of the action scenes takes place in the building where the lights are turned off by the villains, and the filmmakers chose to show what's happening inside using a deep red hue, which mimicked the night vision goggles that the bad guys were using, so I like that. So are there any flaws in She Shoots Straight? I think there are a few here. Some of the family drama gets too melodramatic, okay, in an unintentionally funny sort of way. They definitely overcooked it in a few scenes, but you'll either roll your eyes during those scenes or laugh like I did. The action is a little bit unrealistic at times, which is to be expected in a film like this. And finally, I do think that there is a slight dull patch right before the big finale. You know, things are spaced out nicely, it moves at a nice clip, and then like a big event happens, and then it goes into a little bit of a lull for maybe like 15 minutes before the finale. But it's nothing debilitating. But in any case, I definitely recommend this movie. When I was a kid, I never got to see women in movies like this. In fact, it's difficult to find a movie like this anywhere outside of Hong Kong. So if you're a fan of action movies and you've never seen one of these girls with guns films from Hong Kong, you really should check a few of them out. She Shoots Straight is marginally available on DVD. It used to be widely available because I saw it on Netflix back in the day, but it went out of print. It may take a little bit of effort to track it down, but I do think it's worth seeking out if you're a fan of like old school, hard-hitting, martial arts flicks. So as always, I will see you next time.